Alexandra, how's the video? Is it in sync with what I'm saying? Can anyone chat at me and let me know that it's working okay? There was some technical stuff. Awesome, great. Okay, hi everyone. We're almost at the end of our first week, and I wanted to come on here and just share a couple of things and answer questions and do some clarifications, clear some things that I feel happening in the field. If you have a question right off the bat, go ahead and type it in the chat. So the first thing that I want to share is that, you know, I've been in a really big process of personal change and personal growth in the last couple of months. And it relates to my work in the Deep Feminine Mystery School and specifically to Holy Fire. And it was interesting because on the first call, I noticed myself kind of a little bit out of sorts or out of my center in a way that I don't normally experience when I guide these calls. And I had to kind of sit with it this week and feel into what that is. And I think I just want to share a little bit with you to let you into my world, because it feels important to just speak truth and name truth transparently into the container. I feel like it can serve the group for me to do that. And what I'll say is that, you know, my teachings in this school have really focused on the paradigm of patriarchy as the paradigm of the lost feminine. Meaning all human beings of all genders experience this disconnection from the Great Mother, from the feminine, from the deep feminine current of reality. And it runs through our bodies, it runs through our perceptions, it runs through our value systems, right? And it's like the water we don't know we're swimming in. And so that is the current that moves through me, is the the reconnection, right? So it's not just for women, it's for everyone. And what I noticed was that I was doing a lot of like tiptoeing around the misogyny piece in terms of women's and female body experiences inside of this thing called patriarchy. And I noticed that I was doing this little dance where I didn't want to fully look at it or point to it. And I was being very careful in how I would always talk about and frame patriarchy and frame the era of the lost feminine, and be really careful not to like blame men or make it seem like something against men or women or something like that. And, you know, part of that is genuine, because there is a much larger systemic thing happening. And it is so deep and ingrained that it's like the water we don't know we're swimming in. And that actually is the root of my passion. So there's a purity in it and there's a truth in it. But I've been going through my own initiations in the last few months where I have woken up to the fact that there was something living in me as a woman that didn't want to speak out and use my voice around the misogyny towards women and female bodies. There was something in me that was scared and afraid to talk about it. It felt in my system when I started to really tune into it and track it and explore it, it felt like a fear of punishment. Like if I cross this line, And I don't play like nice girl and tiptoe around this. And if I just come out and talk plainly about the reality of misogyny on women and female bodies, or the need to see women like stepping out and stepping up, I'm going to get punished. I felt like something like, it's like dangerous. Tell me if you know what I'm talking about in the chat. It's like, I don't want to sound like one of those women, you know, like the angry, like feminist women. Yeah, everyone's saying yes. Okay. Yeah, I can feel my heart racing as I say this. I didn't even know I was going to talk about this, honestly. I have some other things I want to clear up, but is it like being a scapegoat? Maybe, Christine. Just hang tight. So, and by the way, as I was unpacking this, some of you might have seen this on Facebook if you follow me on Facebook, but I feel nausea, this fear of losing objectivity. It felt to me, I'll describe it how I experienced it, like there were invisible lines that I was not supposed to cross, like an electric fence. So listen, this is a really real phenomena, and I can feel like tears actually. You know, and when I kind of shared about it on Facebook recently, and I took a poll in my stories and I asked, you know, I did one of those little like question things where people can vote. And I said, if you're a woman, are you afraid of being seen as a feminist? And it was like 48% said yes. These are women who follow me. Yes, you have to defend, you're not a man hater, that's right. And then the next question was overwhelming pain. Yes. Everyone, you can keep chatting. I'm right here with you. All right, we're just going to go here. We're just going to go here. It feels really important to talk about this because there was something that happened for me on the first call where I wasn't able to be present and articulate to the degree that I wanted to be or normally am. And it was because of this. It was because of I'm used to teaching this class in a certain way, and I've had this new information come in, and I've been in a very deep personal process with this just in the last like 2 weeks, where I just feel like my eyes have been opened to the reality of misogyny on women, you know? And it's not that I wasn't aware of it before, but it's just, it's a new veil coming off, and I'm rooting out my internalized misogyny. That's what it is. On a level that is it's next level. And what it is really is I'm rooting out my own fawning, the way that I have been subtly fawning to the field of misogyny, to be a good girl and not get in trouble. Whew. Let's all ground for a second. Yeah. The second question I asked after, are you afraid to admit you're a feminist, was, do you suspect that deep down you actually hold way more feminist views than you want to admit? And it was like 87% or something like that. Right? So Mm. When I started to notice that I was tiptoeing around this thing to not seem like that one of those women, you know, I'm like, yeah, I'm talking about patriarchy, but it's not really about men and women. It's like this larger thing. It's just a paradigm around the feminine, and it's not about what men are doing to women. And like, yeah, that's true, but it's also kind of bullshit. And I feel like I need to take responsibility for that, because that there was a way that was my own contortion, you know, and fear. Yeah, my worry with feminism is that we will leave men behind. I see them as in just as much pain. So true feminism is the recognition that misogyny is also at the root of toxic masculinity, the way that boys get brutalized to not be a pussy. Don't be a pussy. That's misogyny also. Feminism is not anti-men. Feminism is anti-misogyny. Always has been. Misogyny is the hatred of women and the feminine. So when I noticed this tiptoeing I was doing, sensing the electric fence and not wanting to touch it, not wanting to step in the wrong place and tiptoeing around, then I went, and this is important because I think all women experience this as I'm checking in now, right? It's also important to remember that like I'm a white woman in the safety of my own home. Okay, so this is like this is a very gentle version of a much more serious thing on the planet. So I noticed I was tiptoeing. I noticed I was scared of saying certain things or sounding a certain way. And I worked with it in myself enough to a point where I came to the conclusion that it was just my issue. It was just my neurosis, my insecurity, my problem. So what I did was I consciously experimented with it by making a Facebook post where I intentionally crossed one of those lines. I did it consciously, right? It's like, here's the line and I'm going to cross it now. This is such an important piece because as it turns out, I was right. I totally got attacked by the field of misogyny. It was not in my head. It was not in my head. And that's really important because there's something that lives in us as women, I think, that tiptoes around the field of misogyny. And then we think that it's our shit. We think that we're just like neurotic. So here's what's really interesting. The thing that I said that crossed the line was, ready? I said, the next wave of spiritual evolution for all of humanity will be led by women. That's what I said. And I got attacked. I got a lot of loving support, but I got attacked by mostly men and a couple of women. And here's what's interesting is that the way that they attacked me was basically they felt because this is how misogyny operates, right? So first, let's just get a bigger picture here. Men have been leading spirituality for thousands of years. Like 98% of spiritual teachers have been men for a long time, right? So it's true. I have a belief that the ecocide and the climate crisis that we're in is directly connected to the spiritual crisis of the loss of connection to the feminine. And I also believe that women are cut out to be embodiment leaders here, right? So I was just like, next wave can be women, right? Celebrating that. So in the mind of misogyny, what I was doing was abusing men. I was abusing men. And I was talking out of place and I was out of line. So I'm just going to give you some examples. And this is not, I want you to just really like let this flow through your body, because it's just a study on how misogyny works, and it's confirmation and affirmation for you that it's real. It's real. It's fucking real. So one of the things that happened was a woman came on and she was essentially like anointing the wounds of the men that I had hurt. You know, it's like, poor men are not being like appreciated in this message. And like, we need men to teach us about the divine masculine and women to teach us about the divine feminine. And we need to be in union. And, you know, men are like not being appreciated in this message. And right, like I had hurt their feelings by decentering them. I had degraded them. Another man came on and said that I was basically coming from the perspective of the wounded feminine. This was the wounded pain body of the feminine. All of this is bullshit. All of it is bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. None of that is real. But as I studied it, what I started to really understand is that it's a field. It's a field that wants to not only keep the feminine choked down, the true feminine, right? The true feminine, not the junior masculine little girl submissive to the male lead, fawning, but the true goddess energy on the planet. It wants to squash that, and it wants to squash women from, you know, rising. So, I mean, it almost was like a possession, like the people that were coming on and like attacking me, like I could feel that energy in them. You know, it's like, two of the men were masculinity coaches, by the way, conscious masculinity, neo-tantra. And I got freaked out. I was like, it was intense for me. Like they were basically just like, you know, shut the fuck up, sit down, you're a man hater. You're abusing men right now. And I had to be like, did I do something wrong? Like, did I really do something wrong? That's how deep it is. That's how deep it is. By elevating women and saying, yes, women rising up. Women should be leaders. Women will be leaders in this one area where women have had so little of the stage for thousands of years. Right? So I want to get on to everything else I wanted to say, because this wasn't really like the whole point, but it feels really important that I just be transparent with you, because I am going through such a deep unveiling right now around this. Like I am seeing the reality of misogyny against women, like the hatred of women specifically, in a way that I have never seen before. And I'm seeing my own ways that I've been complicit with it, that I've fawned to it. Please don't hurt me. Please don't hurt me. I'm not one of those women. I'm not one of those women. Feminism does not hate men. Feminism is shining a light on the reality of misogyny. Misogyny hates women. That's why misogynists have done a smear campaign on feminism. And now like 50% of women that follow me are like, don't want to admit they're a feminist. That's crazy. If you want to know how real misogyny is, look at how many women are afraid to be feminists. Feminism does not hate men. It is not against men. It is the illumination of misogyny. That's it. And men get very fucked over by, like, masculinity programming is misogyny. In our culture, masculinity equals misogyny. Dominate women and don't be a pussy. Feminism is saying, no, that's fucked up. That's soul killing for men and women. So if you watch the patriarchal toxicity video, you know, I talk about that in there, but yeah, I just wanted to name that I am inside of a very deep unraveling around my own internalized misogyny, the depths of how real misogyny is on women, how big of a piece of the pie of patriarchy this is, even though I wanted to just make it about like the era of the lost feminine. Like, yeah, it's that, and this is also a symptom, and it's very fucking real. And unraveling the ways that I've been catering to it and tiptoeing around it. Oh, my eyes are going. Okay. Great. Mm-hmm. The opposite of the way men and women are perceived as strong, weak, feels more true. Mm-hmm. All right. So I had to just, I had to name that. I'm seeing how misogyny has shaped my family dynamics and how I've played into it in the past. Such an important and potent message. Masculinity programming is misogyny, and feminism is shining the light on misogyny. Yes. That's always what the heart of feminism has been. Right? This feels so silly to say, but I'm just going to say it because this is one of the nuances that leads people to like dismiss it, right? Is like, okay, just because we're saying misogyny is real doesn't mean we're saying that like women are just like innocent victims that are perfect angels all the time and they're just wonderful, and men are always the ones that are at fault. Like, no, of course there's like relational things that happen, and there are like, there's female psychopaths and like all kinds of things, right? So that's all real. But there is a very real, just like white supremacy is real, misogyny is real. We have to turn towards that, and I think we have to turn towards the fact that it's not just like it comes at us through people. We feel it in the fields, just like I felt it, like the electric fence. We feel it. It's in the ethers. It's in the collective mythos around women, right? So I don't think calling it out is as important as unrooting it in ourselves. I think that's like number one. I mean, yes, calling it out, like there's a lot here. There's a lot here. I don't want to go more into it now, but I wanted to share this because, yeah, I felt like I was holding a secret, and I was just like, there's something weird in me. Like I was like, I don't know how to, because I don't know who I am. I'm changing. You understand? Like I'm changing. And how I hold this school and these teachings on the feminine is changing, because I'm realizing like I can't actually keep them separate. The collective disconnection from the feminine, the great mother, is directly connected to women's experiences of misogyny. I mean, really what we need is like an entire container that's just about that. That's just about, rooting through this. The wounded feminine thing, I mean, can you believe that? That conscious masculinity guy said that. That is the oldest trick in the misogynistic handbook. That's what the hysteria diagnosis was. If you're a woman and you talk about being abused or raped, you're delusional and you're crazy, just wounded. Projection 101. It's kind of funny how predictable and mechanical it is. I know. It is. It's ridiculous. It is. Thanks for saying that, Lee. It's like you hate men, you're wounded, and you're crazy, basically. That's the classics, Classics. All right. It's in the handbook. All right. So I want to just clarify a couple of things. Let's just digest this for a moment. It's really big. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I struggle with what to share and how much to share, because I feel like I'm like I have so much, and then I sometimes don't know how to modulate, like how much, how little, what's too much. So that's here too. That's just a personal challenge for me. Okay. Whew, so glad I talked about that. Is anyone needing anything right now? Is anyone feeling anything big? I need to realize I've been doing this work, but thinking of it as unrooting the messages of the conservative religion I was raised in. But I've been seeing how that dynamic is actually everywhere. Exactly. That's it. Thanks for saying that, Naomi. Yep. I totally agree, Naomi. And I think that's why I use a lot of the like Christian metaphors like Lilith, you know. It's like, even if you weren't raised religious, even if you weren't raised in that religion, that mythos, especially because Christianity has been the like primary colonizer conqueror on the planet, you know, that mythos, which is so steeped with misogyny, so steeped with like not just the subjugation of women, but the subjugation of the goddess, you know. So it's in the collective mythos, right? So let's get it a little more simple. Simplify a little bit. Simple, simple, simple. So I know there are a lot of teachings out there right now that are very popular that are teaching that women should be feminine, and feminine is this, and men should be masculine, and masculine is this. Sometimes I forget that my teachings can be confused with that. So I'm just going to say very clearly here that that is not what I teach. Do not teach that you're a woman, so therefore you need to be feminine and not masculine. That's not what I teach. I do not like those teachings. So it always surprises me a little bit when people kind of confuse them or think and it totally makes sense, but I forget. So I'm just saying that right now. Clear that. That's not what we're doing. Okay. What I am doing is unveiling for you that we live in a paradigm, a highly masculinized paradigm of the way we perceive reality, our value systems, and our embodiment. And it's a disconnection from the mother. And we're so steeped in it that it's the water we don't know we're swimming in. So that paradigm values the transcendent over the immanent. It has a fixation on innovation. So like, where are we going? How can we improve? How can we fix? How can we heal? How can we build? What's the destination? Where are we going? What's the final goal? What's the result? Rather than the embodied experience of the present moment, which is where we meet her every time, unconditionally. It's also a paradigm that, centers like not only the mind, but the center of awareness and consciousness as superior. It's also a paradigm where men have ruled. And it's also a paradigm where there has been a lot of rape and violence and trauma on female bodies. So I don't refer to these things as masculine and feminine to get all nitty gritty and like, well, am I in my masculine or am I in my feminine? And should I be in my this? No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Don't go there. All we're doing this week is examining our implicit bias and starting to see through the water that we don't know we're swimming in. And it is a paradigm that is overbalanced in the masculine. And there's anthropological, historical documentation of the great shift that happened in humanity away from the goddess, away from the mother, away from the earth, into a different way of being. Okay, and it's been going on for so long now that we're just kind of like in it. We don't really notice it. So I'm just saying, hey, let's notice it. Let's notice it. Let's question it. Let's recognize the distortions inherent in it. And then in week 2, we kind of like open the door. So beautiful. You're gifting us the revelation of a whole new level of self-trust and thus God, Goddess trust too. Totally. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and really what Deep Feminine Mystery School is like I'm unearthing like a feminine spiritual path or a feminine spiritual lineage, right? And most of what we consider spirituality, we just sort of like, this is what spirituality is, right? Is a very masculine or patriarchalized, or it's not integrated with immanence, incarnation, the feminine, the body, the earth, the reality of what it is to be incarnated here. It's a lot of wanting to dissociate and transcend and get away, and you know, all the stuff about perfection. Gosh, it gets so psychotic. It's crazy. So the feminine, the goddess, the mother, in my paradigm, in the way I teach it, happens through, quite simply, inhabiting our body and our senses in the present moment with a certain quality of presence. And when we practice engaging that muscle and waking up that atrophied muscle to come back down into her, we start to experience coming home. That's the most common thing people say about my work, right? Coming home. I feel like coming home. So simple. Just want to keep it simple. I'm not telling you that you should be feminine because you're a woman and you shouldn't be masculine. I'm teaching that we are all profoundly masculinized in a very masculine paradigm of reality and embodiment that values the masculine half of reality, in which the woman and the feminine have been bastardized and demonized and misunderstood and projected on. And we're diving into who is she really and how do we reconnect with her? And ultimately, as women, how do we be the beacons and the priestesses for the rest of the world to remember her? Because everybody is hungry for her. Everyone misses her. Everyone misses her. Everyone misses their mother. And they don't know that they miss her. They don't know what it is that's missing. They don't know what it is that's missing. Since doing these embodiment practices daily, my awareness has shifted and I live life in another way with a different approach, new values, more perspectiveness. Wow. Do you want to share more about that? I think Yara is how you say your name. I hope I didn't say it wrong. Love to hear more. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And a lot of this stuff too, and I'll go into it in our second call. I'm going to kind of do like a review of week 1, but it's like as spiritual people, because we're all like spiritual people here, right? We don't even see it. We don't even see how anti-feminine the paradigm is. The obsession with fixing and perfecting and scrubbing and purifying. The obsession with transcending your human experience. Yeah. Mm. So much aggressive spiritual messaging about not trusting our body, the senses, taught that our body is actually our enemy. Mm-hmm. Yara says, I'm much more present. I trust my feeling body, my instinct and intuition. Do not work and run so much. I'm getting so sick of these patriarchal waters. Mm. Hmm. Beautiful. So great. Awesome. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Hmm. Okay. I'll wrap it up in a moment here, I think. Yeah. So again, like really this is my specialty, my zone of genius is embodiment practices and decoding the paradigms. I'm a really good paradigm decoder and embodiment practice transmitter. And the poetry is pretty cool too. So that's all we're doing. That's it. Easy. Tracy says, let's do it. I want my mama. Yeah, I love the allowing, the patience, the feeling, the backside of things, the brain, the heart, the pelvis, super powerful. Yeah. Yesterday I started doing the rebirthing and I was in so much grief about all the ways that the dominant masculine way of living life is damaging the earth. Yep. Like the recent war, there's definitely a balance missing. Yeah. Yes. And I think, I want to echo this. This comes from Llewellyn Von Lee, who I weave his book into the course a lot, The Return of the Feminine and the World Soul. But he really talks about how, the climate crisis and the, what's happening to Earth right now, that we don't just need new solutions, new innovations, new technology, that's all important too. But if we only value that and we only focus on that, that is what got us into this situation. There's a spiritual crisis that has to be addressed, and it is the loss of the feminine, period. Period. And resolving that spiritual crisis, as I have received it and understood it, happens just in our bodies in the moment. We start to feed something into reality when we come home to her. There's more there too, but I'm going to save that for later in the course. Dorian says, will you decode the raise your frequency law of attraction paradigm? You asked me this somewhere else, I remember. Yeah. Why don't we have a little chat about it? Let's have a little private chat. I feel like this is a good place to complete this talk here now. Yeah. And I just have such a deep desire to reflect to each of you your immense value as a woman, your immense beauty and power as a woman, and how much this earth loves you and she loves you. And we want you here. Honest, true. I did delete that post. I'll probably post it again though. Okay. So much love. Thank you all for being with me. And I look forward to being with you on Saturday.